Oh man, it's kind of a cold morning. I'm just waking up. But last night coming home, it was so cold. It was like just because of the wind and stuff, it was like angering me. Like it was pissing me off how cold it was still. And it feels like it's been cold for like 6 months already. And I know it hasn't been. But it just feels like winter goes on and on forever. And it feels like it's been cold inside my mind personally. Like everything feels cold. I'm just so tired of winter. You know, it's nice and beautiful and romantic and whatever for like a month, maybe a month and a half. But then just leave it. Like just leave it. And you know what? I should just leave it. I should just go somewhere else where there is no winter for like between the months of the beginning of the year, so like January through March. April 1st, I should come back to the city, to the Northeast in general. But for January, February, and March, these months are like, what are they? What is this? It's just cold and miserable and windy, and there's no snow, and we're tired of it already because it's been snowy and cold since November, and it's all exciting until Christmas. But then just leave it, like nobody's interested anymore. I'm not saying winter can whatever, but like in this part of the world right now, like I can't be here. I can't live with it. It makes me like last night I was so upset about it. Walking home with the wind raging in my face, freezing cold wind, like it just makes me unhappy. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be in it. I want to leave. I want to go to the sunshine. I want to go to California or like south or something, or just a freaking island somewhere. Anyway, makes me think of this quote I think I have in this book right here. Pretty sure I made a video about this at one point too. Let me find it. I don't have my glasses on now, but it was about just being in certain moments, like that we can label as terrible. Like that was terrible last night. Trying to walk home and but like I've been saying this for months already. Like I'm so tired of this cold. But it reminded me of this moment where, like, instead of labeling it as bad and labeling it as this terrible cold thing, like, that's, uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable is all it really is, and instead of talking about how uncomfortable and horrible it is, notice or become able to notice, you know, the qualities that make it so cold, and be able to just appreciate how beautiful that moment might be, even if it's terrible. I think it's right here. Yeah. It causes all this resistance to just being alive, which is like, how are you ever supposed to be happy if you're constantly resisting? If I'm walking home and all I'm thinking about is how much I hate the cold, I'm resisting what it is. I'm resisting what is in that moment. Like, I'm resisting it and fighting it, and I'm unhappy. Which I just spent the whole first 5 minutes of this video talking about how unhappy I was last night. You know, and this whole season, the whole 3 months that we're in the middle of right now. But I'm going to read this to you. Like I said, I don't know if I made a video about this once already, but this part of this chapter always speaks to me, always resonates with me. Let me see here. Where can I start that it makes sense? The way to dissolve our resistance to life is to meet it face to face. When we feel resentment because the room is too hot, we could meet the heat and feel its fieriness and its heaviness. When we feel resentment because the room is too cold, we could meet the cold and feel its iciness and its bite. Indeed. This is why it reminded me of this, because I was like, oh yeah. Last night, instead of being like, oh, so terrible, I want to like murder this cold, I could have been like, wow, how icy. It could have been. I don't know what it requires to be able to do that. Practice. I'm not there yet, I guess. When we want to complain about the rain, we could feel its wetness instead. That's a beautiful sentence. I love that. When we worry because the wind is shaking our windows, we could meet the wind and hear its sound. I have to do this all the time, literally, like I said the other night, or the other morning, how the other night, the wind was shaking my air conditioner and like everything out on the balcony all night. It feels like I'm sleeping on a pirate ship, because it's just like, you just gonna be cleaning yourself right in the background this whole time? That's fair. I feel like it's blowing the balcony off the side of the building half the time, you know what I mean? And it stresses me out when I'm trying to sleep, and it's kind of like tense. But when I worry because the wind is shaking my balcony here and making me feel like it's going to get ripped off, I could meet the wind and hear its sound. And believe me, I do. But genuinely, there's a difference between meeting it there and like resisting it and fighting it and complaining about it and having this negative reaction to it, right? Cutting our expectations for a cure is a gift we can give ourselves. There is no cure for hot and cold. Well, I could leave the Northeast. I could go to California or the Bahamas. But it's still, that's beside the point. I understand what you're saying here. There is no cure for hot and cold. They will go on forever. After we have died, the ebb and flow will still continue. Like the tides of the sea, like day and night. This is the nature of things. And that is from this book. I've been reading this book for a while. still working my way through it. But man, like that's what it made me think of walking home. I was so upset about the freezing wind in my face. Like I was just like, fuck this. I'm so tired of this. Like, how am I meant to go my whole life, like, living in this area, dealing with this once I literally was like, oh my god, it's almost summer, it's almost spring, it's gonna start getting warm, how exciting. And then I'm like, that means it's gonna be almost winter again. I'm like, why am I worried about next winter when it's still this winter? Like, there's still the whole summer. That's a problem. Like, can't spend my whole life worrying that it's gonna be winter. Anyway, I'm just complaining because it made me so uncomfortable. Do you have a coffee too? How's your coffee? Mine is really nice this morning, but I think that's also because the apartment is kind of cold today. And you know, I think one positive way of looking at it is the fact that it's cold in here. The fact that it's cold in my apartment makes my coffee taste that much better. It feels better. It's cozier. I almost shiver with the cold, but then this just makes me feel better. Also, I'm noticing there's a lot of fuzz on this shirt. I don't know if that's coming through, but I don't know why, because I just did the laundry and washed this shirt. The other day at work, I had to call the police because this woman came in. She came into the shop. She had a lot of bags, and I couldn't quite tell if I couldn't quite figure her out what her story was, right? I don't know if she was homeless or there's quirky people in New York. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you can't tell what their deal is. But she came in, she had a bunch of bags, put them down on the bench, and then she looked at me and she was like, if I get something, is it okay if I sit here? And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a coffee shop, you know? Like, I'm not gonna... I can't tell you to leave until you give me a reason, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna just... I mean, if you're just coming in to charge your phone and you put your bags down, like, we don't want people coming in just to charge their phone, because that takes up space, especially if you have a lot of bags. But she came in, she put her stuff down. She did ask, and that's fine. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Especially if you're gonna get something, like, great. That's called you're being a customer. We approve. She sat for 30 minutes. She came up and took a look at pastries or something, but then she sat back down. And like 30 minutes later, I want to say about like 30 minutes or something, what was the song? I Want to Dance with Somebody came on. Is that what it's called? With Somebody Who Loves Me? I want to dance with... Ooh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. I don't know what the song is even called. I'm not going to lie. Whitney Houston came on. And this lady... I don't know. She got inspired. She started singing really loud. You know, the chorus of this song, and I noticed her looking at people, and she was kind of like upset at them. And she kept going, Whitney Houston, motherfucker. That's fucking Whitney Houston, motherfucker. Like that. That's my impression. I'm not getting monetized, obviously. I'm not gonna worry about it. It's fucking Whitney Houston, motherfucker. This is New York. This is New York, motherfucker. Whitney Houston, I want to dance with somebody. Somebody who fucking loves me. She kept talking like that, like directing it towards people, right? And people were like kind of uncomfortable. They were like, why? Like, and she was loud, like singing really loud, like out loud, yelling. Like everyone in the shop's like looking at her like, what are you doing? Why are you causing a ruckus? What's this piece of hair sticking the fuck straight out like that? And I was like, okay, like, you know, I'm keeping my eye on you because, first of all, you've been here like 45 minutes now. Something like that. You haven't gotten anything. You're sitting here with all your bags taking up all this room on the bench. You're charging your phone. Oh, good. Now you're cracking open a twisted tea. So you got like, you're drinking alcohol and all that, and you're singing Whitney Houston really loud, and you know, my other guests here are kind of looking like, what's going on? And I'm getting to where I had to call the police. But bear with me. Coffee. So, where was I? Okay, yeah, she's singing Whitney Houston, right? But then she starts like kind of talking to other people, and I noticed this couple sitting at the table right next to her, this guy and this girl, and she talks to them, and then she came up to the counter and she asked me, hey, is this 57th Street? I was like, yeah, that's 57th right over there. And she's like, okay. And she went back, sat down. And this couple, they're like right there, right next to her. And she's like, yeah, that's 57th. Fucking open your eyes, Phoebe. Phoebe. Alright, I'm gonna just wait for you to... You wanna move? Did you wanna move? Phoebe. Thanks, Phoebe. I love her tail. A little white tipped tail. Little white dipped. Do you wanna smell my coffee? Wake up and smell my coffee. She went over to this couple. She's like, open your eyes, motherfucker. Open your eyes. 57. Fucking dumbass. You're gonna be a fucking dumbass. And at this point I was like, okay. Like, that's it. Like, you can't be doing that. It's fine if you're gonna come and sit here. Girl, you gotta... You're ruining my story. It's fine if you're gonna sit here, charge your phone. You know, I'm not a huge fan of you drinking liquor in my shop here, but like, whatever. Do what you gotta do. Don't bother people. As soon as you start bothering people, we got a problem. Because now you're directly affecting the business here, right? So that was it. I went over to her and I was like, hey, you know, I don't mind if you sit here, but I can't have you bothering my guests. And she was like, go fuck yourself. I was like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. She was like, yeah, fucking go fuck yourself. Call the cops. Do it. Go ahead, do it. And then she started calling me. I mean, I definitely can't say this word. I can't say this word because of the color of my skin. If that helps understand or explain. This word starts with an N. But she called me a white one. Many, like, she just kept hammering the point over and over and over, right? And at this point, everyone's like, whoa, like, okay. She's a little crazy. Like, and she was loud, like, yelling in my face. And I was like, I gotta ask you to leave, right? You gotta go. You gotta go. You can't be in here. And this was, like, the most I could do, right? I'm not in a place where I can force anyone to leave the coffee shop. Like, if as soon as I touch her, as soon as I put my hand on her to, like, push her outside or pick her up, and she was small. She was old too, like not old, but she looked old. But she was 67, she said. And I'll get to that later, but she was 67. She looked really old. I don't know what her deal was, but, like, then she was yelling at me. She was like, go ahead, call the cops, whatever. And I was like, I will call the cops. I'm gonna call the cops. And she just flipped me off and said, fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck you, you ugly piece of shit, motherfucker. Like, swearing, all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, like, look, I'm gonna call the cops because I need you to get out of my shop. You're bothering my guests. Like, I'm the one responsible here. So that's it. That answers that. And she kept using that racist language. She was yelling it at everybody at this point. There was this couple in the window, sitting in the window, like, on these two high-top stools. And she was, like, harassing them about how, like, she was like, yeah, you fucked that bitch. You fucked with that tiny, ugly little dick. Like, harassing this poor couple, like, calling her a slut and a whore and skank, like, every word you could possibly think of, throwing all kinds of racist language into the mix. Kept looking at me, still calling me a white, and it made no sense even, like, and at this point I called the cops. So they were, like, asking me, like, what's going on. I was like, look, we got this situation. She's, like, harassing everybody in the shop. I can't get her out. She's not leaving. I already tried to get her to leave. She's not leaving. And she was at this point sitting there drinking her thing, she wasn't going anywhere. Called the cops. They said, okay, someone will be right there pretty soon. 25 minutes go by, and in the meantime, cops still don't show up. God forbid, like, somebody's dying, right? Thank you very much. 25 minutes later, still no cops, but in the meantime, this one guy comes in, and I think he came in just to get a coffee. He said he was, like, 30 to, he's like 34 maybe. 34, black man. And I only say that because that's critical to this story right now, because of the language that this lady was using. And he came in, and he was instantly like, what's going on with this lady? Because she's yelling at everybody. Like, instantly curious about it. He's like, and then instantly started kind of talking back to her, being like, what are you doing? Like, why are you yelling at everybody? Why are you bothering everybody here? Like, what's your problem? What do you just want attention? And I was like, okay, like, I'm glad someone, isn't taking her bullshit, because everyone else is just kind of sitting here quietly. There's nothing anybody can do. But this guy wasn't taking that shit. He was not about it. He's a New Yorker, you know? But then she started calling him that racist word where, like, for me, it doesn't even apply in any kind of way. Like, to me, it's like, okay. Like, that's not okay to say that, but, like, in a way, it's not personal, you know? For this guy, obviously, it was different because of the color of his skin. Obviously, that was not something he appreciated. And he instantly was like, what the fuck did you just call me? Say that again. Say that again. I dare you to say that again. And he was like ready to like knock her out. And I was like, man, please do not fight this old lady, because the cops are coming here, apparently. The cops are on their way. I have gone so, like, believe me, if I could have knocked this lady out a long time ago, I would have done it. If I could just pick her up and force her out of my shop, believe me, I would have done it. But we've gone this far, and we've done everything right. Please don't fight her right now. I know you're pissed off. I know you're pissed off. But please, because the police are coming. Like, as soon as you touch her, you're the one they're gonna arrest. You're the one that's gonna get in trouble. That's why I haven't touched her. That's why I haven't done anything. Because then I am the perpetrator of the issues, you know? Of people getting hurt, whatever. And at one point I had to like hold him, I had to like put my arm around him because he was like, she called him, 5 minutes later she said it again, and he was like not having it. Anyway, eventually I had to go running around outside the street to look for a cop because no freaking police came at any point. Nobody there. Empty cop car with the lights on though. Thank God for that, you know, not helpful. And then I literally called them again. Had to do the whole spiel again. Every time you call the police, you got to tell them the whole thing. What does she look like? What's going on? What's your number? Blah, blah, blah. They said, okay, someone's coming. Someone's coming this time. And I was like, okay, whatever. Thank you, I hope so, like, because this is becoming a real problem. This has been going on for like an hour and a half now, and she's still, you know, bullshitting and just wants attention. In the meantime, this guy, Rakim, told me his name. He comes out, and we're standing outside talking, and we're just like talking about how, you know, sad it is and fucked up, and how she just like, she needs help and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And he tries to bum a cigarette from this tourist lady who doesn't want to give him a cigarette because she's got 2 left. So I was like, man, I got you, like, I got cigarettes, don't worry about it. So I gave him some cigarettes. But then like the shop got kind of busy, so I had to go back inside and help my coworker, and police came 5 minutes later. I think Rakim got the hell out of there. Poor guy, like, had a time that day. Moral of the story is just be cool, man. Be nice. They got her out. She had a copy of Tropic of Capricorn and a plant that she stole from like the nearby Walmart. Cops told me to throw it all out. So this video is going to cut off because it's at 30 minutes now. I'm sorry for the long ass video. In 15 seconds it's going to cut off. Thanks for watching though. Thanks for listening to my story. Gotta breathe now. I gotta just breathe.